Hello viewers, you're watching VNA News Agency's Daily Bulletin. Following are the headlines. ASEAN-US Summit discusses peace and security in Asia-Pacific region. Vietnamese businesses seek partners in the Czech Republic. Clipperwood jet race sailors arrive in central Da Nang city. Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng has raised concerns over recent developments in the East Sea at a discussion that sought to protect peace, prosperity and security in Asia-Pacific.
The discussion in California on the morning of February 17th Vietnam time formed part of the ASEAN-US Special Leaders Summit, the first following the establishment of the ASEAN community. Prime Minister Dũng referred to activities that are altering the status quo, escalating militarization and threatening peace, stability, security and safety of aviation and navigation in the sea area. The Prime Minister said the countries need to prioritize building strategic trust, increasing dialogues and cooperation, and respecting compliance with international law. He called for the promotion of multilateral mechanisms and support for ASEAN's key role in maintaining a peaceful environment and security in the region. Prime Minister Dũng stressed the strategic significance of ASEAN-US relations, hailing positive and constructive support from the US and other partners for ASEAN's stance in handling regional security issues, including the East Sea issue. ASEAN-US relations have progressed, he said, expressing his hope that both sides will work closely to carry out their action plan for 2016 to 2020 to bring their relations to the next level. US President Barack Obama asserted that the US attaches importance to its cooperation with ASEAN and each of its member groups and supports the grouping's central role in the evolving architecture in the region. He said the US wishes to coordinate with ASEAN in dealing with global and regional challenges, including combating terrorism and extreme violence, human trafficking, and response to climate change. Tensions in the East Sea, the Korean Peninsula, the terror attack on Jakarta, cybersecurity, transnational crimes, and climate change caught interest of the leaders at the discussion. They adopted a joint statement that affirms they will uphold the principles and purposes of international law, the UN Charter and the ASEAN Charter as the defining principles for ASEAN-US ties in the coming time. They shared commitments to peaceful resolution of disputes, including full respect for legal and diplomatic processes, without resorting to threats or the use of force in accordance with universally recognized principles of international law and the 1982 UN Convention of the Law of the Sea.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng left California on February 17th, successfully concluding his trip to the U.S. to attend the ASEAN-US Summit in California. The Prime Minister's attendance at the function mirrors Vietnam's proactive and responsible role in ASEAN, as well as the country's endeavors to contribute to advancing the ASEAN-US partnership in a pragmatic and effective manner. Now we move to domestic news. As part of his working trip to northern border localities, on February 17th, State President Trương Tấn Sang visited Cao Bằng and Bắc Cạn provinces.
In commemoration of soldiers who laid down their lives while safeguarding the country's northern border, President Sang offered incense at the Cha Linh Martyrs Cemetery in Cao Bằng province. Afterwards, the state leader paid a call on officers and soldiers at the Cha Linh border post. Having heard its reports and proposals, President Sang urged the border post to act as an advisor for provincial leaders in issuing policies and regulations to facilitate the cross-border flow of goods and laborers. The President also requested the officers and soldiers to better the political and ideological work in the entire force and strengthen solidarity with ethnic minority groups. During a working session with provincial leaders, President Sang asked Cao Bằng province to make breakthroughs in improving its income and well implement its role as a rampart of the country. He also urged the province to restructure its economy and fully tap its potential in order to reinforce defense security and enhance the living conditions of the local people. Working with officials of Bangka province, President Sang said the locality should focus on its forestry sector and step up the application of scientific advances. The president suggested Bangka province, in collaboration with central agencies, to accelerate forestry processing and tourism projects to raise its economic growth rate.
The 45th section of the National Assembly Standing Committee opened in Hanoi on February 17th to discuss a range of issues, including preparations for the upcoming 11th meeting of the 13th National Assembly. More details in the following report.
In his opening remarks, National Assembly Chairman Wee Sing-hoon said the 11th meeting, the last gathering of the 13th National Assembly, scheduled for March, will deliberate a string of major matters decisive to the success of the legislature during the 2011 to 2016 tenure. Legislators will look into working reports of the state president, the government, the Prime Minister, the National Assembly, the National Assembly Standing Committee, the Chief Judge of the Supreme People's Court, and the Prosecutor General of the Supreme People's Procuracy in the 2011 to 2016 term. The lawmaking body will basically complete guidelines of the actualization of the 2013 Constitution, adopt major laws to concretize the legal document, and decide on the National Socio-Economic Development Plan in the next 5 years. Another important matter expected to heat up the meeting is preparations for the election of deputies to the 14th National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels for the 2016 to 2021 tenure. Right after the opening ceremony, the National Assembly Standing Committee gave feedback to a proposal on amending the program on law and ordinance building for 2016.
A delegation of Vietnamese businesses visited the Czech Republic to seek partners while fostering their exports to the country as well as the EU market. The delegation was led by Tô Hoài Nam, General Secretary of the Vietnam Association of Small and Medium Enterprises. During his meetings with President of the Czech Management Association, Ivo Gados, and Vice Chairman of the Association of Small and Medium Enterprises and Crafts, Jerry Bellinger, Nam said Vietnam is paying due attention to developing small and medium enterprises. He added Vietnam needs Czech high-tech support in agricultural processing, mechanics to tackle environmental issues, and support industries. The Czech officials pledged to help businesses transfer technology to Vietnamese partners, including agricultural machines.
Vietnamese and Czech enterprises have witnessed fruitful successes during the 2 decades of cooperation. There are many Vietnamese workers in my firm now. We are willing to receive more in accordance with the agreements reached earlier.
Vietnam exports to the Czech Republic are comprised of coffee, handicraft products, and computer spare parts, while importing machinery, chemicals, and plastics. The Czech Republic considers Vietnam one of the 12 highest promising markets, with trade hitting $670 million in 2014. Vietnam's automobile sales in January rose 16% from the same period last year, amounting to 23,165 units.
During the month, the number of passenger cars sold increased 3% to 14,090 units, while commercial cars shot up 50% to 8,200 units against January 2015. The sale of domestically assembled cars over the month increased by 29%. In contrast, imported cars sales experienced a reduction of 11% year-on-year. However, the number of cars sold in January fell 21% compared to the same month of 2015 in all car segments, both domestically assembled cars and imported cars. The number of passenger cars, commercial cars, and special purpose cars sold fell by 16%, 28.4%, and 24% respectively.
A Vietnamese food fair has been held in Moscow, attracting about 4,000 visitors who were interested in the Southeast Asian countries' special dishes. Let's take a look.
The event was hosted by two Russians, Pasha and Maskim, who have a great love of Vietnam and wish to promote its culture to international friends. They own Laoli Cafe, which specializes in Asian food, in the heart of Moscow.
I have visited Vietnam several times, so I want to come here to taste Vietnamese food again, such as pho and spring rolls.
Apart from traditional dishes, visitors also had a chance to enjoy Vietnamese folk songs and dances.
Vietnamese dishes are very tasty. As many Russians have visited Vietnam and love Vietnamese food, we decided to organize the fair to offer locals a chance to taste Vietnamese cuisine.
Visitors could also buy Vietnamese foods as gifts for their relatives at the Vietnamese market area of the fair.
The Clipper-wound yacht race fleet finished its sixth leg in the central coastal city of Da Nang on February 17th and received a welcome from the local people. Let's join us to take a look.
Skipper Daniel Smith and his team, Derry London Derry-Doyle, became the winner of the leg and were treated to a special welcome ceremony in the city. Chairman of the Municipal People's Committee, Huỳnh Đức Thơ, said that the city has made meticulous preparations so that the sailors can further their understanding about Da Nang's culture and people. That it will become ambassadors to promote the images of Da Nang city to international friends. During this day in Da Nang, the sailors will have a chance to attend Cầu Ngư Festival, also called Well Festival, enjoy traditional music performance and local dishes, among others.
The Yên Tử Spring Festival officially opened on February 17th, the 10th day of the Lunar New Year in the northern province of Quảng Ninh. Vice President Nguyễn Thị Doan joined others to attend the event. The opening ceremony attracted thousands of people who arrived early in the morning. Numerous activities were organized during the ceremony, including traditional rituals and art performances.
We
come to attend the opening ceremony, visit the pagodas, and wish for a happy new year.
In the 13th century, King Mang Trần Nhân Tông, the third king of the Chen dynasty, abdicated the throne when he was just 35. He then spent the rest of his life on Yên Tử mountain, practicing and propagating Buddhism. He founded the first Vietnamese school of Buddhism called Thiền Tông or Trúc Lâm Yên Tử Giang on the 1,068-meter high Yên Tử mountain. The 20,000-hectare site is considered the capital of Vietnamese Buddhism. Besides numerous temples, it also preserves many old religious and cultural documents such as precious prayer books and monks' writings. The provincial authorities started preparing a dossier for UNESCO recognition of the complex and World Heritage Site in December 2014. And that's the end of our bulletin. Thank you for joining us and see you next time.